today we have an amazing guest with us, Dr. Wendy Labat. She's an entrepreneur, strategist, speaker, and author. Let me bring on Wendy. Hello, Wendy.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Here's our clap track.
Okay, yeah.
I'd love if you could just elaborate a little bit more on who you are and how you came about, your process over the years.
Okay, well, I'll start by telling you about my 36 plus year journey into entrepreneurship. I started, like I said, a little over 36 years ago. Uh, and I wanted to be a medical doctor, but God had other plans. So I ended up venturing into business with no business experience, limited financial resources. It was a time where I had a corporate clientele. So what I had to do was, kind of structure things based on what they required. Now, this was when there was no social media, no internet, and the only thing you could do with a cell phone was make an expensive phone call. So in order to service this corporate clientele, I had to have, a brick and mortar, employees, inventory, and all the overhead that goes with it. So with my limited resources, it was kind of difficult to maintain that because those expenses had to be paid whether I made money or not. So it made me think outside the box and be able to, take control of my finances and make my money work for me. So I got creative on how I purchased my inventory. I got creative on how I had my clients pay because corporations at the time, they wanted a net 30-day payment period, but my vendors wanted net 10. So I had to close that gap because I didn't have the resources to finance, their purchases. So I talked with them and because I was a small female-owned business, and they were, that was the thing at the time. They were willing to pay me within the time frame so I could pay my vendors on time. And as the relationship grew, they began to pay me with the order. So, that was really outside the box because they weren't doing that with everyone. But I let them know this is what I need to, grow and develop my company. So they were accommodating with that. So, things went well, but I guess it was 2014 when the Affordable Care Act was enacted, it mandated that everyone have health insurance. And at that time, I also had a tax preparation business. And the way the law worked, people had to have the coverage, but they also reconciled the subsidy amount with their taxes. So I said, okay, this is a good thing for me to get into. So I expanded my business to include insurance and financial services. So I ended up buying everything that I was trying to sell my clients, and not really from I did it from a marketing and business perspective. I didn't do it based on trying to, look at my own personal situation, but I didn't want to be a hypocrite because I did have people say, well, what do you have? Do you have your money here? And do you have this kind of coverage? So I, wanted to be able to honestly say yes. So, 3 years later, well, really back in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, I didn't think it was a death sentence, but still, I knew it was going to be a difficult journey. So I had chemotherapy every 3 weeks for a year, and it cost $67,000 every 3 weeks for a year. And I don't know about you, but that could have ruined me financially. And in addition to that, I had 5 surgeries and all the CAT scans, the MRIs, all the mammograms, everything that you could imagine. And that was almost another 300,000. So that was in addition to my business and personal expenses. So like I said, that could have ruined me financially. But fortunately, because I practiced what I preached, my insurance my health insurance coverage paid all the medical bills, all of the chemo bills. Plus, my supplemental coverage gave me a big multi-six-figure shot in the arm. So it was tax free. So I didn't have to worry about money while I was recovering. So it took away that stress, because a lot of people were
Wow.
stressed because
Yep.
they don't know how they're going to pay for this medical treatment. So I didn't have that problem. So I'm figuring, okay, I'm good. I'm at an age where I could retire, but God said, no, you're not retiring. I've seen you through this journey. So it's now time for you to start a crusade to empower other people to, take control of their finances and be able to not let a health situation ruin them financially, because 60% people, and maybe a little higher now because of COVID, they're filing bankruptcy, and 80%, and it's because of medical bills, and
Yep.
80% of those folks had health insurance. And a lot of people don't understand there's a difference between owning or having health insurance and using it. And you have to know the difference, because you can have insurance, but if it's not covering what you need it to cover, it's like being self-insured.
Yeah, it's like having nothing. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Uh,
Mhm.
that's amazing. So you kind of like shifted it again.
Yeah. So now what I do is try to help people. It helped me develop my system, which is the financial cure system, because after I went through that, I was like, okay, I found the financial cure for cancer, for breast cancer. And that's, how I developed the financial cure system. And, it starts out by helping people diagnose their financial health, because you
What a
can't go forward unless you know where you are. And a lot of people think they know, but they really don't know.
financial cure for breast cancer. To me, that sounds like a book.
It is a book. Matter of fact, I'm writing a book it's under the Financial Cures series, and it's called Diagnose Your Financial Health, and it'll be out September 30th. So look for
Nice.
it on Amazon, and we'll be doing all the pre-launch, advertising and party and all that. So um, I hope to help people, get out of the rut that they may be in, or even move forward if they're not in a rut. So
Yeah,
help them
that,
take control over their finances.
the financial debts of medical expenses are devastating. I mean, what you had just talked about with 66,000 a month. I mean, that's astronomical. I mean,
It
that's more than
is.
most people. The average income in the entire country of four people, I think, is 59,000. So imagine, having, like you said, having insurance but not having the correct insurance to cover you, or you think you're insured, but then when you need a certain service, it's not covered. How can
Mhm.
some people, one, we can get into the financial, how they can certainly protect themselves, but I think one of the ways to protect themselves is making sure they have the right coverage, right?
Mhm.
So shouldn't people, is there a way that people can kind of like check, because a lot of people just are going through the motions, you know what I mean? They don't, they got to feed their kids, they got a job, their downtime is they're watching 30 minutes or an hour on Netflix, right?
Mhm.
But they don't really understand even in their automobile, who knows what you're
Mhm.
covered. I
Yeah.
had somebody who recently had a car accident, and they were fine, but they had that their car was going to be at the auto repair place for like 2.5 weeks, but they didn't have rental insurance. So now they have to
Mhm.
pay. Who doesn't have rental insurance? But when
Yeah.
they got it, they didn't check the box. So now it costs them, like 1,200, 1,400 bucks.
Mhm.
So is there a way people can double check what they have and what they need?
Well, yeah, there is. And that's what my system is all about. It's about showing you, people think, oh, well, especially entrepreneurs before COVID, we're like, oh, okay, I don't need health insurance. It's not a priority, or I don't need this full coverage auto insurance because, I'm not going to have an accident. But it's not about what you are going to have. It's about the people around you. So we help people understand what the best coverage for their scenario is, because it's not necessarily a one size fits all, but still you want the best size to fit your situation. And we do that for our clients. We don't try to just sell them something that's going, try to make money or anything. We want to sell them something that's going to be best suited for their situation. And, cheap is not always the best.
Very
Sometimes you have to pay a few dollars more to get, the best coverage that's, suited for you.
Yep.
And we try to also show people how they can really afford what they think they can afford by shifting funds that they spend on non-essential things that if they subconsciously or subconsciously do it, but if they are more attentive to their spending and how they can take advantage of what they do on a regular basis to get additional funds by getting rewards points and loyalty points that will reduce expenses and give that money, have that money be redirected to things that are more important, like health insurance and life insurance and food and things like that. So that's what our program is all about.
I love it. And some of those things, like I drive by, there's a Starbucks down here, and I like to call it $5 because just about every drink in there is $5, give or take a dime, right? But the line on the outside at some points were like, here it is, the building. Here is the where you order, and here's where you pick up. But that line would stretch all the way to the back of the parking lot. I'm like, that's like 17 cars deep. So they're gonna sit there for 20 minutes to pay $5, $6 for this drink, and chances are they're gonna do that once a day at least. So let's say it's $5 a day, 25 a week, 100 a month, 1,200 a year, just for that one cup of coffee. So now if they get that coffee, they get a Danish or they get a second coffee during the week at any point. I mean, just coffee alone, you could save 1,500 to 2,000 between coffee and a donut or coffee and, a muffin and make it at home.
Yeah.
You could save a couple of grand a year on something as simple as that, and then use it for, some of the stuff you're talking about. But yeah, you have a wide history and a ton of information. Tell us a little bit more about your services now, how you're helping people, and what is something that somebody might come to you for.
Well, I've got a number of things, but my financial cure system kind of encompasses everything. We start out with the diagnose your financial health session because that's where you really do a deep dive in your income, expenses, and spending, because those are your vital signs for your financial health. And a lot of people say, okay, I know my income, I know, my expenses, but they don't take into consideration their spending. And your example of the Starbucks is a perfect one because, when people start looking at that, and I tell my clients, if you're hooked on Starbucks, you can buy the same machine that they use, buy the same coffee that they use, buy the creamers and all that, make it at home, and you save, a lot more than if you were to go out and buy every day and drive around, sit in those lines, burning your gas and that kind of stuff. One of my clients, participated in the spending challenge, and he came back to me. He said, Wendy, I spent $800 eating out, and it wasn't business lunches. These were dinners and lunches he had with his wife. And it wasn't that he couldn't afford to do that. It's just that he realized $800 a month he could do something else with, like I said, pay health insurance, pay down a credit card or do whatever, that's essential versus him spending that money. $800 a month, that's almost $10,000 a year. So he, it was a wake-up call for him. And it's even more of a wake-up call for people that really can't afford to spend that kind of money, but they do because they're not being cognizant of it. They're thinking, okay, they pull out that debit card and swipe it. As long as they can swipe, they're okay. But when it's time to pay their bill, their electric bill, it's like, okay, it's kind of tight. I don't have enough on there. So that's where we try to, transform their mindset, because people, perish for lack of knowledge. And if you don't know how to get out of the situation you're in, you're going to stay there and not, and still go further and further, in debt or in the hole, especially now that people's income isn't what it used to be.
I love it. And it really does start with that awareness. I remember several years ago, I bought a brand new TLX. Mm-hmm. And because I'm in a company, I can write 50% off. I know I should probably bought 2 years old, but at the time I can write off 50%. So, but when I took pictures of it and I put it up on Facebook, I had the somebody, a relative, a niece, and she wrote, must be nice. And, I'm all happy and stuff. And I see that comment and it must be nice. And then I think to myself, well, I know she smokes cigarettes and that's about $10 a day. So that's that's $300 a month. And I know she drinks at least a 6-pack of beer a week, if not a day. Right. So, there's another $10, right? So there's $340 a month. That $340 a month is more than my car payment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter of, realizing what you're spending your money on, and what I mean, what you could have with it. And that the disconnect was like, she couldn't afford that card. Well, you can. And cigarettes and alcohol, let them go, and now you got that card, break even.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even going to cost you a penny. You're still going to make money, because we both know you're drinking more than a 6-pack a week, right? So but you're right. It really comes down to, people paying $300 a month for cable. Really? Why? You know what I mean? Well, you turn that off and read a book. But I mean, even if you've got cable because you want to be entertained once in a while, you got Netflix and Hulu. It's $16 a month. I mean, there's pretty much everything that you need, And so I love your way. Now, what are some of the steps? How do you get people to understand, to start that process of the awareness? So what would be like one of the first steps? The first step is to call you, to email you. I'm going to put up your information right now because you got some texts and giveaways. But can you give us some ideas of like what the steps would be?
Okay, part of our Diagnose Your Financial Health series includes identifying the 6 obstacles to optimize your financial health. The first one is, like I said, the mindset and lack of knowledge. And then some people say, oh, you don't know what you don't know. But in finance, you do know what you don't know. When your bill collectors are calling, you don't want to answer your phone. You know that you need to get your act together and pay your bills on time. So you may not know how, but you know that you don't know how to do that. The next thing is taking control over your finances. So many people wonder where their money goes instead of planning where it goes. They're like, okay, I made, got my paycheck, but where did my money go? So, we try to teach them how to strategically plan where their money goes instead of wondering where it went. And then proper protection. We want people to make sure they have proper protection because, like in my case, and not just my case, there are people that just may get sick and have to go to the urgent care or emergency room, and just to pay the copay or pay for the prescriptions afterward, that could put a hurting on some people. So you have to have the proper protection. So if things like that, unexpected things happen, then you're protected and you're not coming out of your pocket more than the premium or a lower copay. And then you've got your tax codes and laws. The tax codes, which a lot of people aren't aware, 401k, IRA, 403b, those are tax codes, and people don't understand that. They think, okay, I'm participating in the 401k program at my job, and I'm saving on those pre-tax dollars, which is their seed. But once they plant that seed, when they get the harvest, they have to pay taxes on the harvest. Now, I don't know about you. I'd rather pay taxes on the seed and have a tax-free harvest. So they have to understand that. And with the recent changes in the tax laws, a lot of people don't understand that, it's not really to the benefit of the middle class. The only thing that has benefited people is more so if you got kids under 17, then you get that twice as much. You get $2,000 in a child tax credit, where before it was $1,000, but you're losing the $4,050 exemption for everyone you claim on your tax return. You can no longer file your employee expenses that aren't reimbursed by your employer. Your taxes, mortgage and property tax is capped at your at $10,000. So that's something that I have clients that have large houses and they're paying $10,000 just for their property tax. So they can't add on that ad valorem tax for the car that they used to be able to get. So, things like that, you have to be aware. And I try to encourage people to have a business, even if it's not making money, you need those write-offs. And the only way to do it is if you have a business, whether it be a home-based business or one, that's not a home-based, but now everybody's home-based. But, you have to understand that. And the next thing are the investment losses and market risk and the global economic impact. Because what's happening now is a perfect example. People that had the 401ks, the IRAs, or invested in the market, they're taking a big hit because the market has crashed. They've lost money. And you have to understand how to put your money in places where you don't have the market risk or the investment losses, and the economic impact globally isn't going to hurt your personal finances as much. And then the last thing is just as important as the first, is when you do it, don't procrastinate, but you have to take action. You have to have a plan and implement the plan. You can't just sit back and say, okay, I think I'm going to do this. I think you got to do it. You got to do it when the time is right. So those are the steps that we, try to take you through to see how they impact your situation.
Wendy, that's amazing. And it's literally a step-by-step way from awareness to, I mean, even bringing people up to speed on the tax codes and knowing, what you can and cannot write off anymore, and how you may have gotten this, but you lost this. And you were so used to this and relied on this. And, if you file that, you're going to have a problem because it wasn't available to you like it used to be. But now they might actually be paying more in taxes than they were previously. But then I love how you talked about having a business because you can then write off parts of some of your expenses, and just make sure that what you're doing is legal and legit. But that's businesses people get taxed and businesses get tax breaks, right?
Yeah.
Laurel Langmeyer says something similar to that. I don't want to misquote it, but but yeah, I love it, and this is vital. I think I said it at the beginning, but when you're starting a business or you're getting ready to launch, scale, or grow your business, you want to, or even if it's finding about healthcare, you want to talk with someone who has been there and done that. Not somebody who just read a couple of books and has theories. You want someone who's had practical applications. Sometimes, it's not always pleasant, but it's learning, and smart people learn from their mistakes.
That's true.
Geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. I got that quote from Sharon Lecter. And so for me, I think that it's amazing, the information that you have in so many different fields, but it's so vital for like that whole package. You're only as strong. I used to be on a powerlifting team, right? And they told us that you're only as strong as your weakest link. So in that case, it was like your ankles or your wrist or your tricep, whatever it was that was holding you back from doing whatever it was. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And in this case, you're only as safe as, you make yourself. And I think a lot of people have realized that the government can't protect you. It can't even protect itself. I mean, these guys, they have done nothing for 3 years but throw mud at each other, right? So don't expect them to come in here and save you. So I love how you're talking about giving people first the education, the awareness, and then a step-by-step roadmap. And it's going to take time. It took you 30 years, 40 years to get wherever you are now. Don't expect to be fixed in a week, but at least get that process started. And this here is the best way that people can reach you.
Yes, it is. Now, I want to just by coincidence, I posted a quote by Jim Rohn this morning on all my social media, and it basically said, "You can finish school, but you never finish learning." And people have to realize that you have to constantly learn. And I tell them, a lot of when I do seminars and workshops, I let people know, especially on the tax end, if you go down, people say, "Oh, you're too expensive." It's like, yes, maybe I'm not expensive, but you get what you pay for. You can go down, to the local tax preparation company that's offering a $99, tax prep. But if they have people that are going to do data entry, and I tell them, I don't care who you go to, if they're not asking probing questions as you're going through the process, get up and go, because they're just data entry and you can do that yourself. You got to have a strategy, and most people don't think about having a tax strategy. They just think about getting their taxes done. And it's more than that. You have to have a strategy, and I help all my clients with strategy. Whatever they're doing this year, we look at how it could be better for them the following year. Now, everybody doesn't do what I tell them to do. They don't always follow the strategy, but then when they come back the next year and they haven't, they have no one to blame but themselves. So, I try to tell people what's best for them. And, they say, well, you're expensive. Like, yeah, I am. But if you want good, if you want cheap, you go somewhere else. If you want good, you come to me. So that's my
Yeah.
philosophy.
And there's a difference about being expensive. I mean, that's all really relative.
Yes.
I had a client, right, who thought that I was, for him in his mind, we gave him a website, just a regular website, $1,500. We were doing $500 a month marketing for him. Not a lot. I have clients paying $2,500 a month, but he's like, "Oh, that's $500 a month," and it's it's came out to like $7,500 for the year. So I sat there. I said, "Okay." I said, "What's the average house here?" He said, in his neighborhood, it was like Andover, Mass. And he said, "Oh, it's about 600,000." I said, "Okay, let's say 500,000." And he got like 6%, so it was 3% because he had to split it. And I said, "Okay." So when we figured it out, if he sold one house a year, he would have made $8,000 his end after everything. That's a $500 profit. One house. And he would still have the website, the entire marketing, and whatever that got him for the rest of his life. I said, "So is this expensive?" Now, in your case, if somebody isn't taking advantage of all the laws, they're not loopholes. They're laws there. You just got to know about them. So if they're paying, if you took the time to learn it, and somebody pays more to you than the $99 special, how much money did they leave on the table with that $99 special? And I can't tell you how many people. That's the type of person you're going to get audited for. And even if you haven't done anything wrong, you're still going to spend 40 or 60 hours proving it, right? So I know I pay 900 for my tax person, and so and I see other people paying 70, and I say, well, okay, good for you, But I have two. I have my personal and my business, and but I can only imagine how much I've saved. I have saved, probably over 100,000 just by using him over the last couple of years, because there were certain things I would never have known. And so when people say that, you're too expensive, you say, no, you know what I mean? It's too expensive not to use me. It's that loss of opportunity.
And I've had people that have gone elsewhere, but then the next year they came back because they didn't get as much. And then, like I said, they didn't have a strategy. They didn't get the wealth of information that I provided based on, their scenario. So, I don't have a problem with people going elsewhere, because my thing is, I'm giving you the best that I can give you. Now, if somebody can give you better, then that's fine. That's great. I don't try to, what's for me is for me, no matter what somebody else is providing. So I'm okay with that. But they've come back, and I've even refunded some clients. I had a married couple that the husband always handled everything. So when they got divorced, she came to me and she was talking about how expensive I was. And I had been doing their taxes like 10 years. So I said, well, look, my price hasn't gone up in 10 years. But I did her taxes. She got her refund, and she kept complaining about the price. So I said, look, here's your money back, and you take your business somewhere else. And, like a week later, she's calling me up, wanting me to help her with a tax situation. It's like, what part of you're not my client anymore? Don't you understand? Everybody's not, all business isn't good business. And I try to do the best
Yep.
I can, but I'm not going to deal with everybody. I am particular about my clientele.
Yep, I love that. All money isn't good money. All business isn't good money. Now, that's a piece of advice from a business coach who's been there and done that. Because
Yeah.
I've had some clients from hell. You meet them, everything is fine, and we bill people like if we on a website, it's short money, right? We don't make money on websites. For us, it's kind of like we do that as introductory because we want the SEO. So that's our get to know you loss leader. So I bill them, and it took 10 hours just to get the color right. And it was like it was a terrible combination of purple, red, it was terrible. And she's like, well, that's been our branding since the 70s. I was like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? That's the 70s. This was like, 4 years ago. I said, this is 2016 or something. And, but it took us literally like 10 hours. But now she was the client from hell. But after that, we worked it out. Two really good things came from that. It helped me learn how to create a scenario in which that wouldn't happen again. How to now, when I deal with the clients, this is what I send them. You got to do this. You got to, I learned from that. But she also then went on and did a second site with me, and it was perfect because I used my new system that I developed from my first experience with her. And then she went on, and I got like 7 referrals from her. So she became one of my best clients. I mean, to this day, the contracts I have when we do people's like websites, they're on page SEO, off page SEO. Some of those things have been a lot of what's come because we just streamline it. And it's because from trial and error, I know how to get the client's needs met without going through all the insanity. And you have like so many different aspects to help people, from the finance to their retirement to their taxes, how to start their companies, make sure that they're starting up correctly. I mean, I'm just listening to you, and I highly recommend people at least have that consultation with you. Let me put that back up again now. And there's a free consult or complimentary consultation too, right?
Yes, there is a 20-minute complimentary consultation if you text the word TALK, TALK, to 770-796-4944. Because it's important, people, when you're talking about finance or building a business or creating generational wealth, whatever it is, you have to have an idea of the person that you're working with to see if they're a good fit. Because I don't want to work with someone that doesn't feel comfortable telling me the real truth about what's going on, because I'm not going to judge, because I can tell the same story about what happened in my life and sometimes worse. And I'm not, ashamed of it, because that's helped me build to be the person I am today. That's what's given me the experience and the credibility, because I have been there and done that. I have one client, and I feel for her. She's a dentist, and she's filed, company and personal bankruptcy. And just from our conversation, she was, so ashamed of it, and she didn't want to really reveal everything. And I said, look, I've been there, done that. And that's part of the business process. Now, you don't have to, be ashamed of that. What you need to do is realize that's what you're going through and move forward. Look at what you learn. Hey, sorry about that. That's my dog, who's super spoiled and want to be all in my face.
Let us see them.
Okay, it's a her. You want to come up here? She's kind of big, so I can't lift her up. Go. But, like I told her, don't be ashamed. What you have to do is, make the best out of this situation and move forward. I said, that's part of business. So many companies, look at all the successful people. They've been bankrupt more than once. What you see now doesn't mean that they haven't been through that. So don't be ashamed of it. I'm not saying that you have to, tell everybody your business, but I'm saying this will be a badge of honor for you once you come out on the other side. So, people have to get that mindset right, because it's not always going to be easy. It's not going to always be pretty. It's not always going to be successful. In every stage, you have to learn. You're going to have your peaks and valleys.
I love
But
it. Wendy, Dr. Wendy, you've been amazing. We got like 2 minutes left to close it out. Is there anything you'd like to tell everybody in closing?
Well, I just want to tell people, this is another quote that I put out. It was so, awesome. It says, when you get what you want, it's God's blessing. And when you don't get what you want, it's God's protection. So look at, the struggles that you're in as God's protection, because you eventually are going to get what you want. This, pandemic, this economic crisis, it's not it's not the worst thing that's going to happen to you. Now, you may have some struggles, you may have lost people, and things don't look good, but it's not all about how it looks. Just have faith, know that you're going to come out great on the other side as a better and stronger person, and in better financial situation, and you're going to understand that the government is not your solution.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, you've been a tremendous guest, a wealth of information. Like I said, I'm going to strip out this audio. It's going to go to the radio station. They'll get it in the rotation. And,
Okay.
it might be 3 months from now. But as far as this is live on Facebook, I will be sharing it through multiple social media channels, up on YouTube. So literally, a couple of million people should see this, because I know the radio or hear it. I know the radio station has like 1.7 million reach. And they'll play it. So, it's going to get out there. Plus, we have the internet, iHeartRadio, and all that stuff. So,
Okay.
I'm super glad you came on today. Ton of great information. And I love that Southern accent, y'all.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I've truly enjoyed it. And I look forward to your listeners, and I look forward to getting the link so I can post that on my social media. And, I just appreciate what you're doing. People need to know what's going on. They need to be able to, learn and see how they can, come out of this through resources that are available to them.
I love it. Thank you. And that's it. Part of it's just being aware, educated, and then just reaching out. You've got to take that action. Again, Dr. Wendy, thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you.
Bye for now, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.